How are things, man? When did you get back?
Good, man. Just got back yesterday. Got in freaking still jet lag like a motherfudger, but jet lagging off a win is always good.
Yeah, of course, can't beat that. And I mean, how was the second trip? I know what have you been only been there the two times for the fights, or have you gone more than that?
Yeah, no, that this was the second time I went out there. The first time we were there for 10 days and we spent like 9 of those days in Abu Dhabi. This time 5 weeks and we spent like 4 weeks in Dubai. So it was a lot cooler. We did a lot more stuff this time. So it was definitely awesome.
All right, nice, man. What were some of the kind of the highlights of the activities you got to do?
We went to the NBA, the first NBA game in Abu
Oh,
Dhabi.
wow.
Yeah, then we went to a private zoo, which was sick. Went on the water, and yeah, we went to a couple of museums out there that were pretty nice. Went to the 7-star hotel, only 7-star hotel in the
I
world.
was gonna say, is that even a thing?
Yeah, yeah, like the only 7-star hotel in the world. We just we ate there, but like they said, the rooms are like $10,000 a night. It's like
Wow.
all gold. They have like gold toilets, gold like teapots. It's crazy.
Seems a little unnecessary, but I'm sure it's
Oh
cool.
no, that's why I told everybody about it. And they were like, the locals, they were like, yeah, it's unnecessary. Like they have a butler and stuff in there, but it's like just all gold. Like you don't really need it.
God, that's crazy. Is it like a big place?
Yeah, it's like known. It's called the Burj Al Arab. So yeah, it's like it's known, but it's huge. But like, yeah, I'm wondering who the heck freaking
Yeah,
goes
yeah.
there.
How many people are staying there?
Yeah, $10,000 a night for a bed. At the end of the day, that's what you just need somewhere to sleep.
Yeah, that's wild, man. But yeah, definitely cool to see. Not every day you get that kind of experience. So
Yeah,
awesome. But yeah, congrats on the big win, man. It was definitely a great one, like you mentioned there. And so, I mean, like right away after the fact and everything, man, did you feel like that was the best performance of your career? I mean, you can't beat a finish on a big card like that against an undefeated guy, but just how do you feel about it?
I mean, performance wise, that I think I've beaten better guys. Like I think my performance against Wonder Boy is probably my best performance. Uh, but you know, when I'm thinking about the bigger picture of the event being the biggest event probably in the UFC this year, the magnitude of it being in front of all those fans in Abu Dhabi, being in front of a real crowd, it was definitely up there. It's one of my favorite moments ever to fight in front of all those people and win in front of all those people.
Yeah, man. And it's interesting to me, like, hearing you talk about in the past feeling great, during Ramadan fighting during that time and everything. So is that still when you say you would feel your best, or was it like you've reached this point in your career where every kind of fight's maybe the best you? How do you kind of feel about that perspective?
Yeah, I mean, every fight I think that I try to come up with a new version of myself, a different style, and I've shown it in my last couple of fights where I had to fight every opponent differently, and I just shown how well rounded I am. And even with this fight, everybody was expecting us to grapple or wrestle, and I just beat them standing up. So when I'm thinking about the version of myself, I think this is definitely the best version of myself. Uh, Also because I trained with Khabib and their team for this camp, and I didn't have to. Like I was on an 8-fight winning streak. I didn't need to go look for other guys to get better with. My team in Chicago is great already, but like I still wanted to level up and I still want to keep learning. So I went out, found these the one of the best teams in the world, trained with them, learned from them. So I learned so much and I gained so much from them that knowledge and everything was just priceless, and it just made me that much better of a fighter in general and a person.
Was there anything kind of specific that made you want to do that aside from wanting to be better? Because, a lot of people I feel like will kind of go by the notion of if it's not broken, don't fix it. So they'll stick to, what's gotten them there. But for you, that obviously wasn't the case.
Yeah, my manager was telling me about it. Go think he thought he was telling me, oh, I think it's a good idea to go train with them guys. And I talked to Habib, and he was like, yeah, come down, train with us. So you have it in your head, like, do I really want to? Do I want to go across the world and train down here? Different time zone. Like you said, I don't know what my diet's gonna be like over there. I have a very set of stuff that I do for all my camps, all my fights that I'm comfortable with. And I didn't know if I was gonna be able to do that all in Dubai, and if I couldn't, like, would I be able to get the supplements I need? Would I be able to get this? Like, I had so many questions, but then bigger picture, I'm looking at it like I get to train with Habib, who I consider the GOAT, the best fighter to ever do it. And I get to learn from him, train from his team. Islam, who I think is probably the best fighter in the UFC right now. I get to train with these guys, and they're all in the same camp, so we're all going to be pushing each other at the same time. And when I thought about it that way, and then my coach Lewis Taylor said he'll come down with me for 5 weeks, that just put me over the edge. Like, all right, now I got it. So we have to do it because it was a once in a lifetime opportunity. There's not a lot of guys that are able to train with these guys, and as a fan, there's not a lot of opportunities you get to train with somebody you looked up to your whole career, right, and you always thought of so highly of. And now I get to learn from him and be coached by him. I was like, I have to do it.
Well, when you like first, interacted with him and got to work with him, were you like starstruck at all? What was kind of the feeling in that moment?
I've met him multiple times already, and I trained with him on occasion in Vegas and things like that. So those times it was like that. Yeah. But even here, when I was like, at first I was like, man, I wonder if he would want to corner me, because I don't want to put any extra pressure on myself to having him in my corner. And I thought that when I first got there, that it would be like that if I did ask him to be my corner. So I wasn't even planning on asking him to be in my corner, because I didn't want to, Khabib in my corner. Then I think about it differently. Like, oh man, my idol's in my corner, and I got to put that extra pressure on myself to win or do this. But after being in the gym with these guys for 4 or 5 weeks, we're eating together, we're driving together, we're praying together, we're joking together, and it just became more of like a brotherhood. And it wasn't that other relationship of, oh, I'm a fan of his. It was like, now we're brothers.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Not many people, get the chance to make that come true. So super cool. And, it was very interesting to me, like watching the fight though, Belal. You mentioned people expecting you guys to wrestle. I think that was obviously pretty safe considering, what you guys are both good at. But I think anyone who's followed you knows that you have great striking too, aside from, maybe some certain media members that were giving you a hard time at the fight week. But I'm curious, game plan wise, was it always a part of the plan for you not to offensively wrestle? Because you didn't even shoot once, right? If I remember correctly.
Yeah, I didn't shoot once at all on him. Yeah, my plan was to break him on the feet. A lot of people are like, "Oh man, he trained with the Dagestan crew. He's gonna come in there with crazy wrestling and take him down." And I was like, I trained with them for defensive wrestling. Like their offensive wrestling is another level. So my plan the whole time was to be in his face and break him. I thought that watching his other fights and seeing what he's good at controlling where the fight goes and bullying people and pushing them to the fence and wearing them down that way. And he uses that the cage and stuff for him to relax, and that's his calmness, is the grappling aspect of it. So I'm like, I want to make him uncomfortable, and being uncomfortable, he's on his back foot, his back's against the cage, and I'm making him strike. Yeah, he has okay striking where he can land counters and things like that, but I knew it wouldn't last long, and I knew that eventually his heart rate will go up. It'll make him more tired. It'll wear on him, and eventually I'll end up breaking him.
Yeah, and was that kind of something you highlighted from the Chiesa fight? I feel like everyone pointed out, the third round where Michael came back on him a little bit there, and we were like, oh, kind of questioning if Brady could handle, pressure like what you put on him.
It was actually from the Court McGee fight that I got her mostly from, because he wasn't able to take Court McGee down at all. And I think if he he'd knock Court McGee down in the first round with a left hook. And if he never did that, I think Court McGee would have ended up winning that fight. But I saw in that fight that, yeah, he was doing okay on the feet, but he was uncomfortable on the feet. And somebody with better striking and the same defense as Court McGee was in there with him, I think they would break him. And that's what my plan was.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And so where does kind of the respect levels feel like for you now after that one? Obviously, the big event, like we said, great performance and all that. And, you're right there on the cusp of, title contention. So, like, what have the fan kind of responses been like in just everything coming at you since then? Has it felt like a big boost or anything like that?
Yeah, for sure. Like all my trolls, I had so many trolls and people before the fight. I think I turned a lot of them over to the good side. So that's cool to see. It's always fun when you get people, oh, now I'm a fan or this or that. Yeah. But I tell people all the time, man, like I go into every fight with a different mindset and a different game plan. I feel like I had the best IQ in the game. So if I go into a fight, like you said, I've struck with guys so many times that people think that my stand-up sucks. I'm like, bro, I struck with Diego Lima the whole fight, and I did the same type of pressure against him. So they're acting like this is the first time I've ever struck with somebody. But I'm like, every fight I go into is a different mindset. I'm not gonna sit there and strike with Wonder Boy, who's 50-0 kickboxer. Uh, you, if you understand fighting, if you understand the game, then you would understand what this thing is. If in the NFL, if you're going against a passing QB, you're gonna play the prevent defense. You're not gonna sit there and play bliss the whole time. So that's my mindset in every fight, and that's what people are gonna start realizing when they see me in there. That, oh dang, this guy's a genius with the way he fights, because I'm good everywhere and I can take the fight wherever I want it to go. If I want it to go to the ground, I'll take it to the ground. But if I want to keep this fight standing, I will do that. And I think that I'm one of the. There's not a lot of fighters in the UFC that can do that.
Yeah, no, for sure. Definitely proving it each time out. And it's funny, man. Like, I actually saw before this fight some people online that were, making comparisons to you with, GSP in terms of the IQ and the well-rounded abilities. And like, I don't know if you see much of that. I mean, if I've seen it, I feel like you have to get it more. So, like, how flattering is that to see, like, obviously one of the best ever, but a guy who was known for everything you're mentioning?
I mean, I haven't seen it. That was like one of the cool things about being in Dubai is like I was in a different time zone, so like I didn't get a lot of the media stuff. My bad. I didn't get a lot of the media stuff at the time, so like I was off the grid with everything. But the fact that that's very cool. It's humbling because yeah, he's like another guy that I've always watched and looked up to, and I'm a guy that when I watch fights, I watch what the corner says in between rounds. So like I would always go back and watch GSP fights. A lot of the for the GSP fight, for this fight, I watched a lot of him against Johnny Hendricks, and I would watch him against Josh Koscheck, and I would just like to see what Greg Jackson and him would tell him in between rounds and things like that, because like I like to hear what mindset they have in the corner and things like that. So that's great and humbling that people would compare me to him. I do think I am a type of like a GSP where I'm good everywhere, and I can do that to anybody in the UFC.
Yeah, man, definitely. To compliment, don't get much better than that for sure. And just remembering the name, right? So, I mean, I've been curious, man. I love Remember the Name. Great nickname, and just nickname stories in general. How did this one come to be?
Coming up in the fight game on the amateur circuit, the guy was just like, "What's your nickname?" And I didn't want one of those like weird ones, like the Punisher or something stupid like that. Like he mispronounced my name the first time, so I was like, "Remember the Name," and he's like, "Huh?" I was like, "Yeah, that's what I want my nickname to be. Remember the Name, so next time you don't forget it." And I just want to have that same type of fight style, where people would always remember it, and it just stuck by ever since.
Yeah, there you go, man. Definitely helps you remember when you're kind of forcing it upon people that way. So that's awesome. And so with the position now, Bilal, and the streak you're on and that performance and everything, I feel personally like you gotta be one win away max from a title fight. And obviously there's always politics and popularity involved in everything, especially the welterweight division's kind of crazy all the time. But do you feel like that's safe to say? One more maximum?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what else I have to do. Like, I feel like when you're looking at the division, you're looking at all the guys that are fighting. I'm the only guy in the division with 4 ranked wins, and there's nobody else that's willing to do that besides Kamaru Usman, and he was the champion. He was the only one fighting ranked guys because he was the champion. None of these other guys are fighting ranked guys that are winning. Colby Covington hasn't beat a guy that's on a winning streak in forever. And how long? In his last 6 fights, every single one of his wins was against somebody that's on a 2-fight losing streak. Chimaev beat Gilbert Burns, but then you missed weight by 9 pounds, and Gilbert Burns is only ranked win. Gilbert Burns coming off a loss. Like there's nobody else out here that's beating ranked guys and fighting all the best guys in front of them. And I went backwards with this one, and I fought a guy that was undefeated 15-0 when I didn't have to. I just beat the number 5 ranked guy in the world, and I went backwards to fight him. So I hope I get rewarded by the UFC. I think that it makes sense for me. I mean, if that fight didn't happen like that, I feel like I should have been next in line for the title regardless. And especially with mine and Leon's history, I feel like I definitely deserve that one fight back. But if they're going to give it to Kamaru, I think that, like you said, one fight up in front of me and Chimaev make the most sense. Him and Colby really doesn't make any sense. I don't think Colby would take that fight anyway. I know that they're saying it's signed, but I feel like Colby's going to definitely pull out when it gets closer to it. And I think I'm just going to stay ready for that opportunity because they're going to have that fight on the same card as Kamaru, Leon. Like, I want to be on that card with them just in case somebody pulls out.
Right, for sure. I think that's kind of the best path, I guess, you could go at the moment too. And if it's not Khamzat, though, for you, like, Who would you be fine with, I guess?
I mean, for me right now, it's only Hamzat or Leon.
Yeah.
There's nobody else, or Kamaru, like, if he ends up beating Leon,
Right.
but which I do think he's gonna end up beating Leon. But like, those are the only three fights that make sense to me at all. And or I mean, if Kobe mans up, like I would always, like I want a Kobe fight for years. So I would like if they give me that one, I'll do that one for free.
I mean, man, yeah, it's so kind of crazy what's going on with still just that whole situation with him and Masvidal. Like, what was your reaction to that when it went down? I'm sure you've been asked about it already, but like, still playing out, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's like be careful what you say because like words aren't free. Like you can't talk about a man's family, a man's kids. I understand why Masvidal did it, uh, and but the fact that Kobe's doing this whole making him go to court and things like that, I'm not surprised. Like that's what type of person Kobe is. But yeah, it's crazy how it's still it's in court. And I talked to a couple lawyers, and every single one of the lawyers told me like, yeah, when somebody claims brain damage or something, we hear cha-ching in our things. We know that he's about to get paid hard. So Kobe gonna definitely get paid for Masvidal. Masvidal is definitely gonna need another fight after that lawsuit. So like if Masvidal wants to fight too, we'll fight him. Or even Conor McGregor, he's walking around at 300, 200 pounds now. So any one of those big money fights, I'm down with, or definitely a number one contender fight.
All right, yeah. I mean, I was going to mention that to you. Like, obviously, Masvidal, for example, like doesn't really make any sense, mathematically in terms of the directions you guys are going. But he still does have that name, and if he does, lose a bunch of money from Colby, I'm sure he'll take what he can get. So like, that's a favorable matchup for you too. So that's like kind of win-win if that was to, happen.
Yeah, exactly. That's a win-win for me, and for him, it's like if you're really thinking you still could be a champion, you want to fight the top guys as well. And if you're looking at who's available and what's next, it's like I know he's been asking for the Gilbert Burns fight, but Gilbert's coming off a loss. I'm just coming off a huge win. I think that my fight makes more sense if you want to get back into the title contention.
Yeah, definitely. So I want to kind of look back a little bit now, Bilal, though. Like, great career that you've had up until this point, and a lot of people say you haven't had many losses, clearly, but a lot of people say you learn more from the losses than the wins. So, I mean, maybe this isn't been the moment for you in a loss, but I'm curious which fight you'd say you learned the most from.
The fight I learned the most from was probably the Wonder Boy fight.
Mm.
It was just the training camp in general. It was a fight that like I didn't even want that fight. I was trying to get Chimaev instead of that fight because Wonder Boy, I'm very cool with him, and just he's such a difficult matchup for a lot of guys. And I've been through a couple camps with Anthony Pettis when he fought him, Woodley when he fought him, and I saw like they had to bring in karate experts, this guy, that guy, and it was just all of them still said that like none of them compared to what Wonder Boy can do to you. And that was like one of the most stressful like training camps because you're overthinking it. You're watching his old highlight tapes, and then you get to fight week, and he's like the nicest guy in the world, so can't hate him. And you're like, dang, what the fudge am I gonna do in there? And it was just getting over that mindset of like, yeah, I belong in there with these top guys. He fought for the title twice, and I fought on undercards where he fought for the title. So I was like, man, am I good enough to compete with the upper echelon? And when I beat him the way I beat him, that's when I realized like, yeah, I do belong here. I am good enough to be here with these top guys.
So how did kind of the mentality compare, with getting over that hurdle compared to, the Luque rematch, which is like, all right, this was a guy, you knew he'd beat you the first time. Obviously it'd been a while, but looking at it that way, which was it still, I mean, how different, I guess, was it in terms of approach and like overcoming that?
Yeah, the Luque one was a lot harder too, just because it was like if I lost to him two times, then I think that it was like I'm done. Like there's no way I'm gonna be fighting for a title unless I change the weight classes. And like it was, dang, this guy knocked me out before. Maybe it wasn't a lucky punch. Maybe he does hit so hard enough that one punch will put me to sleep. So that was a big hurdle too. I had to go over, but it was like after getting over the Wonder Boy fight, it gave me that confidence because Wonder Boy beat Luque and he killed Luque. So I was like, if he could beat him like that, then I beat Wonder Boy like that, then I am good enough to compete with this guy again. And that was another guy that's like still so nice where you like you can't hate the guy because he's so respectful
Yeah.
and everything. And I trained at Henry Hoof's gym in Florida a lot too, and like all those guys are really cool. So that was another one where it's like very respectful between everybody. But yeah, I was like game plan wise, mindset wise, I was like I have to get the perfect plan to beat this guy because he can knock you out or he can tap you out, and like even taking him to the ground, you're not safe. So that was another one of those things where I felt like I showed how well rounded I was. A lot of people were saying, "Oh, you just wrestled them." I was like, I still outstruck him on the feet as well. But you know, fans are
Yeah.
delusional.
It's funny though, like mentioning these guys now, Bilal. You don't really realize it until you map it out this way, but welterweight really does have like the complete opposite end of the spectrums when it comes to the nicest guys and then like the assholes a little bit.
Literally, and I fought like three of the nicest guys in the world with Maya,
Yeah.
Wonder Boy, and Luque. And I'm like, what the heck? And then like you got a little bit trash talk from Sean Brady to get the fight. So I'm like, all right, finally I got somebody that I could hate actually.
Yeah. But the Chicago versus Philly kind of nature of that one.
Yeah, I just told my boy right now, the Eagles come to Chicago December, and I was like, oh, let's get tickets to the game. He's like, I don't know, we can't post about it because the Bears are probably gonna lose. I'm like, nah.
Did you see the trade that just went down?
Yeah, freaking so stupid.
Yeah.
The Bears are dumb.
Yeah, well, I'm fine with that as a Packers fan, so I'm sorry, but but hey, they got a good win in the last one, so we'll
Yeah.
see how it goes. But all right, Bilal, I'll leave you with one last thing, man. Been great catching up. Tough one for you, but if you never got into MMA, man, what do you think? What do you think you would have ended up doing instead?
I think it would have been a lawyer. I was actually going to school to be a lawyer
Okay.
before I like started training and everything. But yeah, that was my first dream job was to be a lawyer.
Is that still something you would maybe pursue like after fighting? I know it's maybe still a hard thing to
Yeah, my
do.
mom always tells me that. Are you done now? Are you done now? Go back to school. Go back to school. No, I'm done with school. I hate school now.
Yeah, there you go. Got it out of the system, so no need for it. But all right, man. Well, I'll let you get on with it. Congrats again, Bilal. Great stuff. Wishing you all the best going forward. Hope you can get that Chimaev fight and just, all the good stuff coming to you, man. You're on a roll, so it's great to see and appreciate you taking the time, man. So, yeah, have a great one.
Thanks, brother.